Hey, welcome to week 108 of the Draw or Die newsletter for visual storytellers. This week, let's continue our conversation from week 106 about how to make money from 4-panel comics. This week, I'm going to talk about how to get brands of all kinds to pay you to create comic strips. And you might be asking, why 4-panel comic strips in the first place? Well, let me tell you, I've personally done this and I know that it works. Made a decent living in the past and in the present drawing basically 4-panel comic strips. And number two, I really feel like the classic 4-panel comic strip is perfect timing in this busy, super busy world that we're living in. So you could tell stories for social, pitch products, product placements. There's all kinds of different ways that 4-panel comic strips can vibe in the current economy. Animation and other creative content like that takes ages to produce and can be super expensive for brands. But comic strips are kind of magic in that way. You can make people laugh and cry and think all within 4 panels and usually within a budget. And brands really appreciate staying within a budget. Trust me. And this whole topic was sparked by an artist named Danny who asked me, what is the concept here? How would you make money from a 4-panel comic strip? In week 106, I showed how you can do it your own way. You can go check that out. But in this one, I'm going to show you how brands specifically will pay for your comic strips. So when I say 4-panel comic strips for brands and businesses, what exactly do I mean? So I have 3 examples from my past and my present to show you. So the first example I'm going to show you real quick, this was a B2B, like a business-to-business type comic that I did on LinkedIn for a CEO of a staffing agency. And it was basically content for his own personal brand to put on LinkedIn so that he can get more reach. Because we all know in business that comic strips actually have really good retention rates on social media. So some of the ads that I used to do for the company that I worked for, Spreadshop, the ads with the cartooning in them actually performed way better than other previous ads or animated GIFs. Cartooning really is sticky, we call it in marketing world, and it's a really good recall value. And the second example I have to show you is Bigfoot and Tiki. Now this one actually, I was approached from the Lanikai Ukulele company to make a comic strip, and it's about a Tiki and a Bigfoot as roommates with their mascot from Lanikai named Lani. So I was paid by a ukulele company for a couple of years here to do a comic strip about that. And I'm actually going to tell you how that came to be later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. And then cut to the present moment, I'm currently the daily comic strip artist for V-Friends, and that's the brand that was created by Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and his V-Friends comic kind of covers all kinds of, it's kind of like a Sesame Street versus meets Pokemon. And it's a daily comic strip that comes out Monday through Sunday. And that's my full-time job right now. It's basically my dream job. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. So again, this is an example of a intellectual property from a company that's using the comic strips to kind of really reach new fans. Now, those are just my examples. Is this possible for everybody? No. But am I unique? No. There are others doing this quietly and, they're protecting their own egg, if you will. But I think that there's plenty to go around for every cartoonist, and I want to talk about this pretty openly to encourage you. Sounds impossible, but brands will pay you for your comics. But first, before you can make any kind of steady dime on your comics, you need to really do the first step, which I mentioned in week 106 as well. Please re-review that video, but I'm going to reiterate that for you again here a little bit. Is you got to love the cartooning deeply. You got to really love drawing it. It shouldn't feel like work when you're doing it, even though it is work. You got to really love the act and the craft of being a cartoonist. And that's the real recipe before you're able to begin making money. If you're dreading hours at the board or working out some kind of problem or issue on the page, you're not going to like to be a cartoonist full time. With that said, I kind of put together here a little list of how to be a full-time cartoonist. These are the core things that you need. And it's number one, you need to be authentic. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I talked about it in week 106, but be consistent with the work that you're putting out there and also the work that's on the page, like your artwork. Don't be sloppy, be professional, be consistent. Know your topics and your research. So if you don't know the things that you're drawing, the companies will know that. Like, you don't want to step in and try to be drawing a basketball comic, but you've never even studied the rules of basketball. You want to do your research behind your work. This last one is basically, be a kick-ass cartoonist. Hone your skills out there. And that goes right back to, you got to love it deeply. The minute that you stop learning, you're done for. So if you think that you've got it all figured out and you're just like churning it out like work, and you're doing just enough, you're doing the bare minimum to get by with your artwork, it's over for you. Like, it's a slippery slope to nothing. So like, the minute you think that there's nothing more to learn or study, you're done for. So just pack your art supplies up and get out. But there's always something to learn and always something to improve from age 5 to 105, right? So always be honing your skills there. And before I go any further, I'd just like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. My wife and I run this brand out of basically a closet right over there. And we do this for you. I do this for you to encourage other artists out there. That's my main mission, is just to encourage you. Not just about the money, like forget the money, just I want you to draw every day. Please subscribe to the channel. We also have a daily drawing club here on the channel, and we've got some merch and things like that you could pick up, sketchbooks and whatnot. But it's the Draw or Die Company. We really appreciate you being here. I can't do this without the artist's support, and we just hit 7,000 subscribers over here on the channel. So I just want to thank everybody that's subscribed from the bottom of my heart. And we're a small brand, and it just feels good to grow with you. And please comment, don't be shy, say hello. If you have questions, any kind of questions about art on any kind of level, whether you're an amateur or an old jaded pro, please reach out. And I could talk about this stuff all day long. Okay, back to this. So when you're first starting out trying to like hustle and make money with your art, you're gonna hear this term like good. You can either be one of the or two of these three things: good, cheap, or fast, right? And I kind of feel like that's kind of BS in a way, but this is mostly what you're going to encounter. Companies that think like, I need good and fast and they're paying more, or good and cheap and they're paying less, and it's lower quality. And on this level, on this starter level here, this is the part where a lot of artists are undercutting each other and protecting their like secrets or their little nuts. Like, they got this little nut that they're not sharing. Like, this is like this secret little niche that they've tapped into, and they don't want to like talk openly about how they're making their money or anything like that. They don't even want you to know that it's possible, because the more that you don't draw, like the more they feel that the more money's in their pocket or something, right? But I don't feel that way. I feel like there's plenty to go around for everybody, and I also kind of feel like I want to see more artists doing more work for more brands. So in order to do that, we need more cartoonists, and we need more brands paying cartoonists, and that it's out there and it's possible. I'll talk a little bit more about that. How do you go from this level to leveling up? I was thinking about this, and I drew like a new Venn diagram, and this is my Venn diagram. This is kind of what I think I've achieved in my career, and I've been a professional cartoonist for over 25 years now. This is my Venn diagram. Be awesome, not just in your art. Try to make your art awesome. Doesn't have to be perfect, but awesome doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to like impress people, right? So always trying to be making your art awesome and your overall vibe. So you want to be pleasant to work with, have a good personality. Basically, don't be an asshole. Second, fair price, not cheap, but you want to be fair, okay? If you're working with a company and you know that they've got like millions and millions of dollars or a big ad budget, don't try to like charge them more. I've heard others say like, what artists say that, like where they're like, oh, I know they have a bigger budget, so I'm gonna triple my price. That doesn't make you awesome. That makes you kind of the typical. That makes you back over here, right? You don't want to be typical. You want to try to achieve and yearn to stand out and be awesome. So fair, be awesome, and on time. So it's not about being fast, it's about being on time. So whenever you say you're going to do something, you meet that deadline. If you're these three things, I think that this really is some sort of like Maybe I'm not completely 100% all the way there, but I feel like this Venn diagram is really what's created a lot of income for me as an artist. And a couple added dashes here would be to go the extra mile. Okay, so on time, yes. Stick to a schedule, and you're going to have to do that. That's on you. You got to stick to a schedule, and you got to do it yourself. Nobody else is going to make you do the work and be disciplined, right? We have other videos about that on the channel that you can watch, but time blocking, all that stuff, we can get into all that. If you need help with any of those things, or you're struggling with any of that stuff, comment and let me know. Maybe I'll make a new video about something like that, or just reach out to you and help you. So those are the three things. And when I say going the extra mile and being awesome, kind of connect, would be, let me just give you an example. If you're working with a client that you like, or say you're working with like a marketing manager, I once did this, and I still do this to a certain extent. If I get a good relationship going and I'm a cartoonist and I know what my capabilities are, and say I know that their kid's having a birthday and we're having a conversation about that, and I know that it's only going to take me like 15 minutes to like whip up a happy birthday Carl sketch or something like that, I like to do that. And it's not because I'm trying to butter them up or be any kind of like way about it. It's just that it feels good. I know that they're going to get that and they're going to be like, you know what? Awesome. Right? That's the North Star. How do you be awesome? Become more awesome, and that's by doing nice, kind things like that. Really going that extra mile and not expecting anything more or less. And this is going to tie to something I'm about to show you for how to attract more work too. It's just going to come right to your door. You're not going to have to go look for the work when you achieve this. Okay? I know it seems impossible, but it's true. It's 1,000% true. If you achieve these things, then the work will just pile into you. So for starters, and I know how to find the work, right? The work's not just going to magically find you, right? And it is work. So you need to put the time in. Now, remember what I said was, if you really enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. So you're not going to mind putting the work in because you're like, oh, I'm going to work on my brand. Number one is you're going to publish often, and I'm not going to tell you how much or where or whatever. I'm just going to tell you that, your own website, social media, and we're talking 4-panel comics here. Remember, this isn't just your artwork. I'm talking about this specific knowledge that I have is about spot illustration and specifically 4-panel comic strips. If you're out there thinking about that, and I'm just answering that question, then, you're publishing a comic on something, right? So you're going to be doing your research on that topic, just like I said in the previous segment there. You want to know about the basketball comic strip. You want to know what you're about to draw. I had to go study a little bit about like what's going on in recruiting agencies. I have no idea. I had to research that before I jumped in and to work on that guy's comic on LinkedIn. You really want to kind of research that and ask yourself, what are you best at? What are you best at? And when you do that, when you figure out what you're best at, you're going to curate your best work. You're going to curate your best work somewhere, whether that's in an album somewhere, or I don't know how you put it out to the people that you're trying to get it to. That can vary. I'm not going to give you a specific strategy for that. Pop it in an album somewhere that you can easily link to, a Google Drive, a Dropbox, or something like that. And then the next step would be, you got to build an outreach list for that market. Let's just say you're trying to, and I just said basketball, and it's a terrible example, I think. Maybe it's not a terrible example, but let's just say basketball. Any topic A. You're going to go into topic A, and you're going to say, all right, how do I research this? I really like this topic. I'm going to find all the top podcasts on this topic. What are the top books? Who are the top authors? Who are the social influencers out there on that topic? What are they doing? Are there other cartoonists out there? There's probably not. So if you look around, there's so many awesome blogs and newsletters and things like that. There's so many opportunities, guys, for cartoonists out there. There's just so many. You just have to know how to get your mind in this mindset. So you're going to start making a list of the top people, the mid-tier people, and kind of just like use it like a game. Like who's doing what? You're following them. You're researching, you're consuming their content, and you're understanding what's going on with them, right? You may even make up some samples for them. I've done this too, where like I'm so excited that I hear a podcast or something like that. In the past, I've done this where I'm like, oh, I really love that episode. They said a joke or something on there, and I'll just shoot them a little 4-panel, comic strip, little sketch, and they love it. We both start building up a reputation or whatever, right? Before you do any of that, I kind of skip this part, but in tandem to all these things, because you can do these in different steps, right? You need to have your rates. I have a rate video somewhere here on the channel too, but like artists don't know how to set their rates. So set a rate where you know how much does it cost you to do a 4-panel, a 4-panel comic strip. Like how much is it to draw that, and know how much it is to draw the 4-panel comic strip, right? So know your rate and lock it in and have it ready. Be ready with it. Have it in a little PDF somewhere easily that you can send it. And then you're going to do outreach sessions, okay? And this is uncomfortable for people, but in week 106, I talked about this too. You need to learn how to ask. If you're not willing to ask and you're afraid to ask people that, or even let them know that you exist, then you're not going to be really cut out for the business side of making a commercial art of any kind, really, if you're not able to ask. And agents, I mean, they're just going to take a cut and they're really not going to, the best person to do it is you, right? So these are all just things that you need to learn yourself. Some people do some paid ads after they've got their content together, like you're pushing the fact that like, hey, I draw commercial, storytelling for whatever. I don't really necessarily think that that's, you have to do that, but it's maybe a little shortcut. But if I did, I would not put a whole lot of money behind ads. I might put like $5 a day or something like that just to push it to a certain network or a certain topic on like Facebook ads. But I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that. I would reach out one by one, and I've done this. This is what worked for me. I've done this. I would basically reach out to people one by one. I'd find their email address, or I'd find their DM, or message them on LinkedIn and just say like, hey, I really enjoy your work. I'm a cartoonist. I'm available if you're ever wanting to do comic strips, which sounds fun, and they might not have ever thought of that. They might not have ever thought of a comic strip, right? But they think it's cool. And then that kind of ties into, you need to know that value of comics. You need to be able to speak to that. So if you are passionate about comics and drawing them, then you also have to know the value of comics and how to tell that story. So that basically means that all those things I just said, it's instead of it being so expensive to make animation, you're turning around things pretty quickly. You could be topical. You could be on top of things. We use it over at VFriends for like testing different markets and different characters and testing out like some different topics in a different way that didn't cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars to put something out. It's a great content, and it's also sticky. It's sticky in the mind. There's a good recall in cartooning. You probably remember a lot of ads that you've seen, or mascots, or different things like that based on the cartooning, right? And basically what you're trying to do here is you're just starting the conversations. Don't oversell it. Make it super easy for them to reach back out to you, and don't feel stressed out if they don't. You're just entering that conversation, letting them know that you exist and that you have a service available to offer them, and then just leave it from there. And what you're trying to do here in the end is become top of mind. Oh, it's DJ, he's the comic strip guy. Or, oh, it's DJ, he's the skull and crossbones guy with the skull and pencils or whatever. Oh, it's Sally, she's the person that does comic strips about family therapy or something like that, okay? You're just trying to build this network, especially if you're starting. And the cool thing about all of this is there's a quote that says, when you don't have business, so you have no business when you first start, you have no orders, you have no jobs, nothing. So when you have no business, you work on the business. So if you're feeling like, man, I have no sales, I have no clients, that's where you go, okay, I'm back to this. I'm back to this whole, I'm going to publish. What am I publishing? You got to deploy your self-awareness, and don't quit early, right? You got to keep at it. You got to really give yourself some time. I can't tell you what that time is for you, but I'm going to say, like, if you do this every week and you have a full-time job or something like that, and you're doing some outreach at the beginning of the week, Do the outreach at the beginning of the week. Don't do it at the end of the week. Don't do it on the weekend. Hit them up on like a Monday or a Tuesday. They're kicking off their week at work. They're paying attention for their jobs, and like nobody's thinking about cartoon strips on a Friday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. Hit them up on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then watch what happens. You're going to see what's going to happen when you do this the right way. Okay. So the other end of that wall, the other end of all that work that you're going to put in, is that work will start to find you. So think of it like this way. When you're doing this part here, all of this work of publishing your content, making new artwork, publishing your content as often as you can, you're putting a little brick in a wall. And when you first start, nobody can see the wall. You're in the grass, you're in the weeds. But every brick that you put in that wall, sooner or later, people are going to see it. The right people are going to see it, especially if you're like, hey, look at that wall. Look over there. That's my wall. They're going to see it sooner or later, right? So just always think of it as, you're building brick by brick. All the bricks might not be perfect, but you can just replace that brick. You can paint that wall. You can repaint that wall. That's what you're doing with anything in life, right? You're just building piece by piece. So when you're feeling like, man, I'm putting all this work in and nothing's happening, remember the 3 feet from gold. Like, don't give up. You really still feel it deep down. You got to just kind of keep persevering and tweaking your approach, tweaking this, tweaking that. Don't stay the same. If it's not working, go, why isn't it working? Is it my artwork? Do I need to improve this? Do I need to improve that? There's all kinds of stuff that you can do. But if you really love it, back to the first part, back to this, if you're really, really loving it, then this isn't going to feel like work. This is going to feel like adventure. Like you're going to feel like, man, I'm making progress. But when you start actually getting the work, I'm going to tell you, man, if you are those things up there, you're awesome, fair, and on time, word's going to get out, and you're going to get so many referrals and word of mouth when you're going to be known as the top person for this or that, or caricatures or this or whatever. You're the basketball guy. You're the podcast cartoonist. You're the YouTube cartoonist, whatever. They're going to reach out to you. And I know that this happens because it's happened to me. The SEO content, the search engine optimization, blog titles, your titles of your graphics, that content is out there, and it's going to bring you organic traffic. And I'm going to show you here that an example of that. Lanikai Ukulele. So Lanikai Ukulele, they actually found me because back when I did my my own comic strip, and I put it in the back of this book, I had some comics about ukulele lessons, and this Bigfoot was teaching you to play punk rock songs on the ukulele, right? And this is what they found through the titles of the graphics, and it's even more powerful now. This was back in 2011 or something like that. But it was my characters in my comic strip, and the guy was like, I love these characters. Can you add in our character? And so there's Lonnie, and I have him singing a punk rock song there, and the Lanikai Ukulele. Like, that's how they found me, was through my webcomic. So if you go back to week 106 and you see, like, these characters came out of my webcomic, and I still got to own them. They had no interest in owning them or anything like that. I put that in from the start. I said, like, as long as I'm able to publish my own comics, I'll draw for you guys and promote your ukuleles. And it was such a cool project. I even had like HBO reach out to me about not comic strips, but like they found some of my comics, and they were like, hey, can you draw Barack Obama as like a vampire hunter? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'll do that for the True Blood TV show. What about being on staff or like a full-time job at a company drawing cartoons? You might not think that this is a real job. It is. I've turned some jobs down because they just didn't pay enough for the amount of work that you put in, or they lacked benefits or whatnot. But now my current job at VFriends, I really feel like it's basically my dream job. I love, I feel like it's a total culmination of all the years of putting in that sweat equity, working on my skills, being the top of mind in my network of people, and staying sharp, being ready at those moments, at that moment's notice. When the opportunity came, I had good references of people that I worked with that I'm sure gave me glowing reviews of my work. Now, those dream jobs, I know that they're few and far between. Not everybody's going to go jump and work for like Gary Vee or whatnot, but I do know that they're possible. I know other people doing this and just not talking about it because, like I said, they find these little niches and they're like, they don't want to share like that this niche is doing well for the cartoonists that I talk to. But ultimately, it's this Venn diagram up here that you want to try to achieve. I try to bring a good vibe. I'm fair, I'm dependable. And if you're listening to this and vibing with this is the type of cartoonist that I'm trying to help make more of out there. So what kind of questions pop up for you next after you've heard all of that? What are you struggling with the most? Was this video helpful? Do you want me to make more of this type of content? Drop a comment and let me know. I love talking to artists. I could talk about this stuff all day long. Back in week 106, I talked about how you can also go your own way, make your own comics, just like I had that Bigfoot and Tiki comic. You could just build your own true fans, write your own destiny with 4-panel comics. You can rewatch that right here on the channel, or check out some of the other content that I have here, and stay encouraged out there. Back to the drawing board for me, and I'll see you back here next week in week 109 of the Draw or Die newsletter for visual storytellers. We'll see you soon.